And welcome to Match Play for Friday, April 19th, alongside Cody Jeanette and Zach Lamar. I'm Creighton Raps. Let's just jump right into it. First, we're going to start off with some Cal U topics. We'll start off with the softball team. Coming off a sweep at Edinburgh yesterday, winning the first game 9-8, and then demolishing the Fighting Scots 18-0 in a 5-inning nightcap. So tomorrow they will be hosting Westchester in a key crossover contest. Cody, your thoughts?
Well, this game against Westchester, it's going to be a really fun one to watch. I mean, Westchester is ranked 5th in the nation. Don't get me wrong. They're going to provide some really steady competition. But our pitchers and our offense are going to be coming through just as they always are with every game that I have experienced and that I have seen, highlights of or box scores for and stuff like that. It'll be really fun to watch here against Westchester.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series to watch. We are actually covering the game tomorrow. Cody, you and I are announcing for CUTV tomorrow. And I think I would not be surprised to see California come out as dominant as ever. The last time we covered them, they won in a blowout, and then they came back and won, I think, like 2-0, 6-0, around there. So, they have their inconsistencies sometimes on offense, but the pitching is always dominant. And that's what's going to help you to win some tournament games and even the PSAC title if they can do that this season. Alex Sagel, Lindsey Rykoff, Hope Spancake, they all have put in tremendous seasons in the pitching mound, and they're going to be able to generate a little bit more pitching this weekend, and I think they'll be able to defeat Westchester for a series win.
And couple notes, Westchester, after they're done with the Vulcans on Sunday, they get to travel to Shippensburg, who's the number 2 team in the region. So they got their work cut out for them this weekend, to say the very least. Moving on to baseball, Vulcans have a 4-game set this weekend with Gannon. Both teams are tied atop the PSAC West. Saturday's doubleheader will be in Erie. Sundays will be down at Consol Industry Park in Washington. Zach, your thoughts?
Well, I think the baseball team is looking very good right now going into these weekend series. 4 games in 2 days, 2 doubleheaders. And I think the one that is going to be the most intriguing is Gannon, because these are the 2 top teams in the region. California, if they want to claim that top spot, they're going to have to take down Gannon, because Gannon, they're a very good team just like California. I think Kyle Petty and crew is going to have to go out this weekend, not overlook Saturday's games though. If you do that, then you'll just set yourself up for more failure. If you lose Saturday's games, you look ahead, you might overhype yourself and look ahead on Sunday and then lose those games, and you'll lose 4 in a row, and that's not going to be good for the psyche of your team. So you need to focus on each game at hand. If you win 2 out of 4, that's good. 3 out of 4 is even better, and a 4-game sweep is perfect for California this weekend.
Now, Zach, I completely agree with you on that topic. It's a really psychological test for this team when you really think about it. 4 games in 2 days, 2 doubleheaders in a row. And like you said, they have to focus on what's in front of them right at that moment. They can't take in more than they can chew. And like you said, Gannon's going to be really tough competition as well, but they can't completely put their mindset all the way on that. You've got to take these games one step at a time, 1 inning at a time, 1 at-bat at a time, and perform your top quality performance all the way. And that will give you the 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, or could we stretch it even to a 4 out of 4?
Hey, in this league, anything is possible, but the one thing we've learned about the PSAC, regardless of sport, it's unpredictable. We will leave it at that. Moving on to tennis. The women's tennis team are competing in the PSAC team tournament at IUP this weekend. They defeated Millersville in the semifinals earlier today. They will take on either IUP or Kutztown. That had not been completed because Mother Nature is playing games, as it were. Cody, who's going to be the key player to watch for on the women's tennis team for Cal?
Well, whenever I take a look at this, 2 names stick out in my mind, and that is only because they are leading the team itself in wins. And their names are Katie Eaton and Tanya Timko. They are the 2 people who, like I said, are leading the team in wins. And when you really think about it, that's what it comes down to. The only really stat that I believe that what truly mattered, what truly counts in any professional sport or any collegiate sport, anything, whether it be baseball or hockey or tennis or something, it's the wins. Without the wins, you don't go anywhere. And with these 2 leading the way, that's really that's what's going to carry them far, is just having people like them getting wins for them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cody. Wins are important. I think someone to look out for also is Alexandra Borgenhoff on the women's tennis team. Against Millersville, she won her matchup 6-0, 6-0, a clean sweep right there. In the matchup before that, correct me if I'm wrong, Creighton, West Virginia State, number 47 in the nation, she won 6-0, 6-0 as well. So I think she's starting to ride a little bit of a hot streak. You can't expect her to go 6-0, 6-0 every single time she goes out there against some good competition in Kutztown or IUP, depending on who they play. But she's starting to rack up some wins as well. She only had 7 losses on the season total. So, besides the 2 top winners right there, she's going to give you some quality wins as well in the PSAC tournament, depending on who they play in the finals when Mother Nature decides to let up and let that game finish out.
And as we said, it's either going to come down to IUP or Kutztown, as we say in this part of the valley. And remember, California's won the last 8 PSAC tournaments, so you have to like their chances. Moving on to the fan topic as selected by you, the viewers. This week's question: name your favorite sports movie of all time. Zach?
Well, up until last weekend, it was The Sandlot. I can remember watching as a kid, watching The Sandlot, wanting to play baseball just like those kids did. And then last weekend, I went to go see 42, the Jackie Robinson story, and that is without a doubt not only the best baseball movie I've ever seen, the best sports movie I've ever seen. It is a true story in every certain way. Everything that happens in that movie is accurate, except for maybe the humor. You can't always get the humor right in there. But there's the perfect mix of humor, of fears, depending on what is going on in Jackie's life, all the treatment that he's getting. And you see the excitement and joy and the ending of the movie when he hits a home run. You just see him trot around the base path, and you see him jubilant that he's finally made a mark on Major League Baseball. And I think 42 will be cemented as a great sports movie of all time.
I've always wanted to see 42. It looks like a movie that I would like. But if I were to pick a favorite movie, I'm going to go to the ice rink and pick Miracle for mine. Miracle was a fantastic movie. I remember I watched it. My mother rented it on DVD to see it, and it's based off of the 1980 Miracle on Ice team. And what's awesome about it is back then, they weren't like professional athletes. They were just like college kids who wanted to play hockey for USA. And the drama, there's some humorous parts, and just the overall action, the suspense, everything was packed in so tightly, compacted really well. It built up a great structure for an overall fantastic movie.
I think one of my favorites of all time would have to be Hoosiers, although I think we'll sneak an honorable mention in for The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. So and on that note, when we come back, we'll break out the chip chop ham, pop open a pop, and that talk of Pittsburgh sports topics as Match Play continues right here on CUTV. And welcome back to Match Play here on CUTV. Zach and Cody doing battle here in this second round. We're going to be talking Pittsburgh sports, so Yinzers, gather around. Let's talk about them Pirates. They started the week off splitting a series with the St. Louis Cardinals. However, last night was not so well for the Buccos. They lost 6-4 to Atlanta. Yes, the Braves of Sid Bream, Jerry Meals, all those other fun characters. So here's a question. How many games do you think the Pirates can win against the Braves this weekend? We'll start with you, Cody.
Well, I personally believe that the Pirates will take this series, and I'm not saying that just because I'm optimistic. A.J. Burnett's gem against the Cardinals, I felt was somewhat of a big momentum drive after a really shaky start to the season. And they're floating right around the mediocre 500 mark, which to us Pirates fans is outstanding. I really look forward to when they're around that mark. But if you can carry that kind of momentum like A.J. Burnett did into a weekend series against a team like the Braves, who are always a wild card contender, and you get the edge on them, that'll really help the team too. And that's why I believe that the Pirates this weekend will take the series against the Braves.
Yeah, Cody, I like what you're saying, but I think the Braves and Pirates are going to split the series 2-2. You know, last night I actually attended the game with my girlfriend. We saw the game, and it was a tight-knit matchup, and then it came down to the battle of the bullpens. And the Braves bullpen with Craig Kimbrell, Eric O'Flaherty, they are just outstanding this season, and they have been for the past few years. Evan Gattis came in, hit a pinch hit 2-run home run. That sealed the deal because Kimbrell came in the ninth and struck out the side, two of them looking. So the Pirates, if they're going to have any success, they're going to have to avoid the Braves bullpen, and they're going to have to keep the starters in there and attack them late, and then get into the bullpen with some long relievers, middle relievers, and stay away from Kimbrell and O'Flaherty, the two-headed monster that I like to call them.
And of course, you would like to call him Zach. Yeah, you're from that neck of the woods anyway, but it's probably too early to call this a critical series. Every game, of course, would count. Every game, of course, should count, but you know it's early. Time to get the pacing going. So now we're going to move on to the Penguins, and Sidney Crosby is he's getting back on the ice again after missing some extended time with that jaw injury. A couple nights ago, the Pens absolutely clobbered the Montreal Canadiens 6-4. So Zach, your thoughts on how that game turned out? Actually, here's a better question: do you think Dan Bylsma is going to keep Sidney Crosby out for the rest of the regular season and not bring him back for the playoffs? Until the playoffs, rather.
I don't necessarily think Bylsma will keep him out the rest of the season. I think you need to get him in there before playoffs because you need to get him a little roughed up because in playoffs, people will go headhunting for him and try to get him hurt knowing that the Penguins, you know, they don't need him, but they need him at the same time to have success on the ice. Now, tonight's game against Boston was postponed due to some recent events in Boston, and it was postponed to tomorrow, and the Buffalo game, was changed to Tuesday in Pittsburgh. So it just remains to be seen what Bylsma's going to do with Crosby. I think you'll see him in there before the playoffs start, and the Penguins can go on a long run.
It's definitely a good idea to be conservative with Crosby, especially with how he's just coming back this season from his whole concussion fiasco that he had, and now the broken jaw. And with the Penguins where they're at right now, they already clinched a playoff spot. The only thing that they're really fighting for now is the top seed in the East. And of course, when you're a team like the Penguins, the seed doesn't really matter, I don't think, because you're going to face a higher ranked seed regardless of where you end up. But maybe get Crosby in there every 2 or 3 games or so. Definitely be conservative with him. Don't take any risks. But you are right. You can't let him get rusty come playoff time.
And of course, the Pens game, that cancellation was confirmed about 3:15 by the league office. So as it stands right now, tomorrow the rescheduled date has not yet been formally confirmed, but we'll just check NHL.com or PittsburghPenguins.com. They'll have the scoop on what's going on. Now we move on to the Steelers. We're less than a week away from the draft. The big snack is out. McClendon is back. He was re-signed, and the Steelers matched Emmanuel Sanders' offer sheet from the Patriots. Here's the question, Cody. What do you think are the Steelers' #1 priorities going into the draft this Thursday?
I really sound like a broken record whenever we talk about this. It's been a topic on Match Play so many times, and I keep saying pretty much every time, cornerbacks, running backs, and offensive line. With everybody that's leaving, everybody that's threatening to leave, everybody that's threatening to get cut, those are the 3 weakest spots on the team. There were too many touchdowns given up. Ben Roethlisberger was hurried way too many times, and our running backs couldn't hold on to the ball if we were to give them $1 for it. It seemed like half the time, whenever there were a lot of fumbles, consecutively even. But those are the 3 areas that we need to work on that I am definitely going to stick by in regards to the Steelers and the upcoming NFL draft.
Yeah, Cody, I like what you said. I don't necessarily think those are the weakest positions on the team, though. Cornerback, I think they'll grab someone for depth. Offensive line, the same. And the running back, I think Jonathan Dwyer can carry the load. I think eventually they'll go back to Ahmad Bradshaw after they clear him physically to return. I think they'll grab him up. But I think the one position that they need to get in the NFL draft is wide receiver. Cordarrelle Patterson is the one guy that stands out, in my opinion, as the one that the Steelers need to draft the most because he's the big receiver that Ben Roethlisberger has been asking for years since Plaxico Burress left. He's back, but he's not going to be much of a factor this season, I don't think. So Cordarrelle Patterson, or you get Keenan Allen out of California, who might drop actually to the second round, so you can spend a pick on someone like Kenny Vaccaro or Jonathan Cooper, or they're still available.
And of course, the draft starts this Thursday night with the first round. Will be interesting to see next weekend if Cal U's own Rontez Miles gets drafted, but that'll be another time for another time. Finally, right up the road from us at IUP, women's basketball coach Jeff Dow contract was not renewed. Loosely translated, he was fired after allegations of verbal and or physical abuse against his players. The Indiana Gazette reported that one incident involved him throwing a ball at a player's head. And senior Sarah Pastoric told the Gazette that she and her other teammates believed it was an accident. Zach, your thoughts on this whole episode, and how does talk about the timing, especially with the Mike Rice circumstance at Rutgers?
Well, the timing is just, I won't say awful or good, but it's good for these things to come to light because you need these things to come to light for coaches in American sports, because abuse for your players and treating them wrongly is not good. You see what happened to Mike Rice. He was fired. Rutgers just hired Eddie Jordan. And I came to find out Mike Rice is coaching a 12-year-old girls prep league team now. And you see IUP's coach here is fired because of abuse to players, allegedly. You know, it's just something that you can never truly eliminate it from the game because it's always going to be something behind the curtain. You can't see. It's in the shadows. It's in the dark. You can't find it until you actually dig up some evidence on it. And it's just something that I think is a grudge on the sports world.
The word alleged or allegedly is a really scary one to use whenever you're talking about anything. And personally, I believe if there's even, yes, okay, there may have been rumors and blah, blah, blah spoken to each other behind each other's backs that this coach did abuse his players, then yes, fire him. I don't care if he didn't even do it. If there's stories circulating about it, that is something that's not needed in sports. Like Zach said, it's something that is frowned upon, and it's extremely disgraceful and disrespectful. It shouldn't happen like that. But then until further investigation goes on, then yes, maybe give them their job back if it was false.
Well, it doesn't look like he will. It doesn't look like that will be the case. However, I mean, like we said, I mean, there may be a lot more to this story that we don't know about. So, I guess we'll just stay tuned. Coming up next, we're gonna go around the world, or at least across the nation, or maybe if we're lucky, we'll go to West Virginia. Who knows? We're getting American right here on Match Play here on CUTV. And welcome back to the final segment of Match Play. We're getting American at this time. Let's start off with the NFL, probably one of the biggest events on the NFL social calendar. The releasing of the 2013 schedules took place last night. Very intriguing matchups. You have Denver will be hosting the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens on a Thursday night. Guys, what is going to be the most intriguing non-Steelers NFL game that you saw on the schedule this year? We'll start with Cody.
Well, my pick for most intriguing game is a game that is going to be on December 1st at 3:25 p.m., if I can remember correctly. That's a weird time for a game to start, but it is a game between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. And I picked this one because Houston seemed like a team that was really a shocker to everybody, getting really far into the playoff race. I mean, before then, you practically never heard of them. They were a new team in the mid-90s and came in the 2012 season really strongly, kind of taking everyone by surprise. And I feel that New England, with their history and their skills are a really big test as to if they can keep that level of ability up, and it's around playoff time as well.
Yeah, Cody, I like your matchup there. Two powerhouses in the AFC. I'm going to go another AFC South matchup. The Denver Broncos visiting for the first time in Peyton Manning's career as a Bronco, the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday night. And I think the Indianapolis Colts fans, they're going to love seeing Peyton back because although he did leave, it was not Peyton's fault that he left. He put the Indianapolis Colts back on the map during the late 90s into the 2000s, winning a Super Bowl for them, going to another one, and then he left for Denver. But Colts fans probably still have a place for Peyton in their hearts, and when he comes back, they'll be cheering him on just as much as they cheer on Andrew Luck as they both make the push to the playoffs.
And that 3:25 start time you cited, Cody, that's Central Time. It would be 4:25 Eastern Time, I believe. But I think Eli versus Peyton with Denver and New York and the New York Giants, that should be an interesting one as well. Now we're on to the NBA, otherwise known as the gibberish segment for most of Western Pennsylvania. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia 76ers, and Detroit Pistons all fired their head coaches the other day. Byron Scott gone after 3 years. Doug Collins giving up the coaching reins in Philly after 3 years, and Lawrence Frank basically stinking up the joint in Detroit for the last 2 years. Zach, who's the next NBA coach to get sacked?
Well, I look around the NBA, and there's a lot of coaches that are newer. I don't think they'll get fired yet. One that I look towards is Rick Adelman in Minnesota, and he's not been around forever, but he's had some chances. I understand. Ricky Rubio's been hurt. Kevin Love's been hurt. Your two big players, they've been hurt several times. They've never really played together a lot. That's still, you have to get some more W's than you've gotten in the past couple of years. And I think Minnesota needs to take a new coach in there. Phil Jackson's hinted he wants to come back to coaching. Maybe if you find it in your hearts, take a jump at him. You never know. Hall of Fame coach right there, probably the best coach of all time in the NBA. You can never go wrong with getting Phil Jackson in there with talented players such as Kevin Love and Ricky Rubio, who can bring you some wins and maybe even make a playoff push next year.
The one coach that I am looking at that sticks out to me whenever I look at who's heads next on the chopping block is Randy Whitman of the Wizards. The Wizards are, I'm sure everyone can agree that they are a complete mess out there on the basketball court. I have seen some video footage and I have some basketball experience. They do not look top tier at all. And it's not just the record that's damaging Whitman's reputation. There have been a lot of mistakes that they made with mixing their veterans and their new rookies and even second or third year players up. It's just a really big chemistry imbalance that could really be corrected, and Whitman is really in big trouble because of a lot of those things.
I'd offer my thoughts, but to me the NBA is, for me personally, about as relevant as the Pittsburgh Power, which is to say, not at all. Let's move on to the ice. The NHL is reportedly looking into scheduling 6 outdoor games next season. The Penguins are rumored to be one of those games that will be playing at Soldier Field in Chicago against the Blackhawks, which that should be a pretty intriguing matchup to say the very least. Cody, do you think the NHL is going overboard by scheduling 6 outdoor games next season?
Moderately, somewhat, yes. I can kind of see where they're trying to go with it because everyone got all hyped up about the Winter Classics over the past decade or so. And yes, that's a great revenue income for the organization. It's a really big thing for a lot of people to look forward to. But if you have 6 in one season or in one day even, I'm not sure when all of these are scheduled, then it's not going to become so special anymore. And it's just going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, the outdoor game's coming on, instead of, oh, yeah, the outdoor game's coming on. No one's going to really look forward to it that much anymore. Yes, it brings in money, but it has to be done conservatively. I say have one game a year, maybe 2 at most, in 2 areas of the country, but 6, no.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cody. 6 is too much. And now, although Penguins Blackhawks, you might see that in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. That's an intriguing matchup. I would watch that game if it was outdoors at Soldier Field. They should just stick with the one that they had. It was Detroit against, I think, Toronto at the Big House in Michigan Stadium. They should just stick with that one, possibly throw in 1 or 2 more in there, like the Penguins game, or get one in like Boston again for the Bruins-Flyers matchup maybe. But, having 6 of them a season, although it's going to be revenue for the NHL, and they need to get some more revenue after the partial lockout they had this year, it's going to be too much to have 6 outdoor games. It's going to change your schedule of the season a lot, and I think it's just going to be bad for the league overall.
I think you can also make an argument if you're going to cut the number of games, at least have one in Canada. Make the Canadians happy, eh? So we move on to our final topic. Speaking of overkill, we just had the X Games a couple months ago. You had the snowboarder who was killed in that competition accident. And now we have another round of X Games, this time in Brazil. Zach, is this overkill or what?
It is overkill in my opinion, because I never watched the X Games when it was just like X Games 12 or 13 and that on ESPN. I never watched them before, and now it's in some place in Brazil I've never even heard of called like Foz do Iguaçu or something like that. Put it in Rio de Janeiro, or at least I know where it's at, and there's stuff I know what's there. But the X Games, they're not intriguing to me at any point, and I think there was petitions a couple years ago, put some of the stuff in the Olympics even. It's not, honestly, in my opinion, it's not a sport at all. Dirt biking, that's something to go out and do in your own time when you find a dirt track down in the south of the Midwest somewhere. Something fun for you to do. It's not a competition-based sport in my opinion. And I have some cousins that actually do it, and I'll support them. But I'm not in any way endorsing the X Games because I just don't find it intriguing for me to watch.
Yeah, it seems like the X Games are getting overkilled a little bit. Even like relating back to the NHL games, you can't have too much of them at once. Why do you think they have the Olympics every 4 years? It's so that they don't happen too often. And you're having different X Games series months apart at a time. People are going to get bored of it, and you're not going to want to watch it anymore if you even want to watch it in the first place. It never really caught my attention that much, although the only thing I really liked about the X Games was watching the bikers fall off whenever I would watch that. But yeah, you can't have too much of anything at once and take in more than you can chew. Yes, the X Games are being overkilled.
I thought it was overkill when they just had one a year, although you have to admit the thought of wakeboarding down the Mont Incline on the south side, that would probably make for some entertaining television, or maybe, I don't know, skipping around traffic through Squirrel Hill. Well, never mind. All right, and that is going to wrap it up for this edition of Match Play. It's up to you, dear viewers, to decide who wins. Is it Cody? Is it Zach? Or is it a third-party candidate like, I don't know, J.P. Majeski or Clint Logan or even Andy Hughes? Nah, we're just going to leave it to voting to Cody and Zach, and then we'll be done with it. I am Creighton Rabs. We will see you next time right here. This has been Match Play on CUTV.